There we go. There we go. Yay. Thank you for joining me. How are you doing today?
Oh my gosh, I'm so good. How are you?
Good. I'm so excited to have you on here and get to hear more about you and share more about your story.
Yeah.
It looks like you're in a nicely well-lit room. Is it good weather where you are? Where are you located?
So I'm outside of Boston. It's a little bit sunnier here today than it was yesterday. We actually supposedly got snow yesterday.
Oh.
Not where I live, but like a few towns away. So
Okay. I was like, were you not outside?
well, I know it was also like horribly rainy, horribly
Okay.
cold, and I had to do a ton of work. So I was inside all day, but I just kept looking. I was like, how is there going to be snow in May?
Weirder things have probably happened, but yeah, that would be weird.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm glad it didn't hit you though.
No, me too.
Do you like the snow? What's your favorite season?
Oh, summer. So I live by the beach. I love the summer, but honestly, I love all of the seasons and I don't mind snow, but I literally changed over my closet like 2 weeks ago. So now I only have sandals and like shorts.
Right?
So, yeah, this is my only sweater I have left.
So you've already made the switch and you're not ready to go back to that. So
Nope, not ready.
that's awesome. Very cool. Well, thank you so much for joining us, Meg. I'm going to tell everyone a little bit more about you with a little intro, and then we'll just kind of get started and telling more about who you are and why you're here to share your story with us. So everyone, this is Meg Wheeler. She is the weekly podcast host for One for Womankind, where an intimate conversations happen on how we can use kindness and compassion to show up and support women. And one of the quotes that was from Meg's bio is, one small gesture can have one big impact. And I love that. It's all about those little things sometimes that stack up to make a huge difference. Meg is the co-founder and CEO of One for Women. She also has a blog that promotes women-owned businesses with unique curated gift sets for everyday life moments. And she's also a startup strategist and financial educator for creative entrepreneurs. But Meg, I would like to welcome you to the vlog. Thank you so much for your time today.
Thanks,
and I love that you told us a little bit about where you're from. So tell us more about where we could find your podcast, One for Womankind, and so when and where that they can find that.
Yeah, absolutely. So you can find the podcast One for Womankind on iTunes, Spotify. It's in most of the big places. But the website is oneforwomen.com/podcast. And so it comes out every Tuesday. And we're in our first season, but we're going to be doing something fun, actually. Season 1 will end the second week of June. And Season 2 will start in the fall. But in between then, we're going to do what we're calling summer school, where I'm actually going to sit down every week with one of my very best girlfriends, a different one every week. And it's going to be completely unedited, unscripted. We're going to be talking about hot topics for women. We're actually picking from a literal bowl of topics. So neither one of us will know the topic going in. It's just really meant to be candid conversations with my best girlfriends about the stuff that's keeping us up at night. So yeah, so tune in for that.
That's really cool. And that will be still on Tuesdays?
I think so. Yeah, I haven't. This was a harebrained idea I got the other day with a glass of wine. So yes, probably.
I love your honesty around that. That's the best. That sounds super fun though. That's totally something that I want to check out. So I'm glad that I'm hearing about that already. And then I would love for you to just give us an example about your everyday moments gift sets. I would love for you to share an example of what that looks like.
Yeah. So when I started One for Women, we felt like there are a lot of options for if you get married or have a baby or whatever it may be. But one of the things I love about my tight group of girlfriends, there's about 10 or 11 of us, is when we have those everyday moments, as we call them, like job promotions, or there have been breakups, there have been deaths of grandparents or parents even. And for all of those moments, we've really rallied together and found a way to send a small gesture of support to our friend. In some cases, a gesture of congratulations. We hope we get more of those. But that's really where the idea came out of. And so we design our gift sets to be affordable. So they're generally in, from the $20 to $80 range, so that you could actually send one, just sort of on a whim if a friend has something good or bad happen. And all of the products, again, come from women makers, but they're all really intended to just kind of brighten up your day. So we're really trying to create that habit of spreading joy and support through small gestures more often.
I love that. That's so cool. And you said and you're the co-founder. Who is your partner in this?
Yeah, so my co-founder is actually my mom.
Awesome.
Yes, yeah. So we started it together. She is also an elementary school teacher. So she doesn't work full-time in the business. She's more of an advisor.
Yeah.
We started it together. She's always been very big about gifting and small gestures and really just supporting people. I think she's the head of the Sunshine Club at school. So
that is adorable. I love that. I love that you guys started that together too. Like, obviously you've inherited that from her, watching her be such a kind person and teaching that to you. And then you guys are, giving back to more people to show that. I think that's really special. So I wanted to make sure that everyone knew where that little tidbit was from. So let's dive in a little bit more about you and your story. So tell us about a significant time in your life when fear held you back from living your life fully.
Every day. No, I'm just kidding. Well, sort of.
I love your honesty. Seriously. I'm all about being raw and real. So
I know, I'm like, 30 minutes ago.
Right?
Seriously. No, it's, so actually, to answer your question, I'm going to go kind of to the beginning of my story about being an entrepreneur. So I spent about 10 years in the corporate world. I worked, I'm actually a former CPA. Like, I worked in accounting and tax, which I loved. But for a few years before I left, I was really starting to feel like I wasn't being valued, like I could have more of an impact in this world, and that I honestly just had more to offer than what I was doing. But not only did I not really know what that looked like, I think I did let fear really hold me back in that case, because I had a very nice paycheck. I had health insurance, which I think I mourned more than the paycheck.
Security, right? Like, we all want to be secure.
It was security. And I also think I was doing what I had been taught to do. Like, I graduated high school, I went to a good college, graduated there, got the good job, got a master's degree. I was following the plan. And I think I was so afraid that if I did anything differently, that I wouldn't, like, in my field, making partner was kind of the pivotal moment, right? I think I was afraid that if I veered off, that I would never get that. And it's funny because I don't think I ever really took the time to think about whether or not I wanted that. It was just like, oh no, what if I don't make it? Then I haven't succeeded. So I definitely let it hold me back for a while, but in the middle there, I had a child. And I came back from maternity leave and actually found out my role was changing. And a lot of people had been laid off. Thankfully, I was not. But it was going to be focusing on something I was not at all interested in. And so that was sort of the universe saying, like, not anymore.
There's a little shit happening there.
Yes.
I love that. So when fear was holding you down during that time, let's talk about where you were mentally during that time and how you felt about yourself during that transition.
Yeah. So the one thing you need to know about me is I've always been an overly confident person. And I want to be clear, that doesn't mean I don't suffer from self-doubt or imposter syndrome. I 100% do. But usually at the end of whatever that conversation is in my head, my response is like, well, I'm just going to do it. Like, I have this sort of like innate confidence that I can't seem to knock. I'm not trying to knock. But that said, I literally, like, it was about a period of 2 years before I figured out I needed to leave and left. And I mean, honestly, every day I would drag myself to work, and it's so funny, or maybe sad looking back. But the thing I looked forward to two things every day. I looked forward to, so I took the boat to work. That was like, there's a commuter boat. Yeah. Boston. Okay. So I would read. I love to read. So I would read on the boat. So every day, like when I had to wake up and drag myself to work, I'd be like, it's okay, you get to read on the boat. And then when I was at work, I would look forward to my 3 p.m. Starbucks. And it was like, that got me through my day. And I don't just mean like in the way that it does for most of us, where it's like, oh, I'm tired, I'm looking forward to that. This was like literally, like, I was depressed. And that was the only thing that I was holding on to. And it was like, okay, just get to Starbucks, just get to read the book. It was like literally getting me through.
Those habits that you had in place.
And I was, honestly, I was a shell of myself. Like my energy, my light, my passion felt very beaten down. So it's looking back, I'm actually really sad I stayed in that spot for so long. But I also think it worked out the way it, you know, was supposed to. And I think it was okay.
Yeah.
But it was tough.
Right. Well, and we don't know that we're in that space, right? Like the things that we don't know we don't know that we don't know them until we know, right? It sounds so silly, but it's so true. So when you were breaking free from those fears and moving into the new direction, sometimes our relationships, our friendships shift and change. How did this show up in your life during that?
Yeah, well, it's interesting. I'm actually very lucky in that, I do have that really supportive group of friends. And I mean, I can, our friendships did change in a sense, but to be honest, they really stuck with me through this whole process. And honestly, I wouldn't have made it through that process, I don't think, nearly as well without them. And so for me, it's actually less of having to go through sort of that bump that I think a lot of people do, and more just realizing how grateful I am that I didn't have to go through that as much. You know, my friends, like when I quit my job and I said I was going to start a company, I did this whole thing where my last day of work, I planned drinks at this like very fancy place. And I said, go there and I'm going to tell you what's next. And I thought I was the coolest thing in the world for having this big surprise. And I went there and I told them, and they're all like, well, it's about damn time. I was like,
that's amazing. I love that you like made it a big thing.
Yeah, I made
it a celebration.
But I was really hoping for the like, wow. And they were all like, well, all right, good. We've been waiting for you to do this. So for me, it was a little bit of a flip side, but I realized how grateful I am for that.
Yeah.
You know, and I will say this, although these weren't necessarily relationships that I wanted to keep, there were people who I did lose as part of this process. You know, I didn't burn bridges, thankfully, in my business, but I think a lot of people didn't understand that I worked with, because I came from a very like straight and narrow traditional career. And it's funny to hear them sometimes now describe what I do. They're like, she does stuff with women. And I'm like, that doesn't sound weird.
It's so funny the way that people perceive different views, you know?
Yes.
That's so funny. So with your friends that were really supportive, like okay, so there wasn't really anything. I was going to ask something and now I totally forgot what it was. Dang it. It was something about your relationships that you had said. I'm squirreling. Okay. So you got them together, you told them they were happy and supportive of you. You thought more of like, they'd be like, oh my gosh, like more of a shock that you made the jump, and they were like really just waiting for you to do it. So are your friends entrepreneurs?
None of them. Nope. But I will tell you this.
Interesting.
My friends are all really strong women, and they all are very career oriented, not necessarily careers number one or the only thing, but they're all very driven in their careers. And I think, you know, we've actually talked about this a lot in our group of friends, that we are all such strong women that we really do kind of pave our own paths forward, and sort of like bulls charging forward. We've described it before. Yeah. And we're very lucky for that, because we've really created a culture with each other where it didn't surprise them, you know, and nothing really surprises them when I say, oh, I'm going to start this or start this. And they're incredibly supportive, but they're like, cool.
Right.
So, but that does not exist that much in the world. And I know how rare that is and how lucky I am. And so that's part of what I'm trying to do in the communities that I'm creating is, you know, show women especially that, you know, you should have big dreams and you can go after those dreams. And that's exactly what you're supposed to be doing. So,
yep. Exactly. Right. Nothing good is coming from being in our comfort zones and staying in our little boxes where we think we're supposed to be. Like you said, you didn't even know, like you were just doing what you thought you were supposed to be doing. And you stepped out and there was people there even when they're not following the same path that are supportive of that, because
Yes.
in the end, we all want to be happy. We all want to have, joy around whatever we're passionate about. So whatever brings you joy and happiness, like we want to support you in doing that. So that's really cool.
Well, and the other thing I'll add to that too is I think that they really recognize what I'm good at and where I can have a lot of value. And I think especially as women, we need to do a better job of that and really help each other understand our true value, because that's the thing. Like, they may not understand my career path or everything I'm doing, but they know what I'm passionate about and they know where the things I'm good at. And so for them, it's easy to just say, well, of course she's doing that. She's good at that. That makes sense. She's passionate about that. So the more we can
literally, we borrow our friends and family's beliefs, right?
Yes.
That's a huge thing that shows up in my life right now with my business partner is she talks a lot about borrowing each other's belief. We have a I Am conference that's literally all about that, helping women understand that who we say we are matters. And if you don't believe it yet, borrow my belief in you that you are all of these things. So
I love that.
That's really cool. Yeah. So what compelled you to jump ship from having the fears of holding you back, when you just made the decision? What was holding you back before?
So it's funny. So a year before I ended up quitting, I actually got a new boss. And I remember, and this was about 9 months before I went on maternity leave. Okay. So I got this new boss in, and I was, everyone else was really sad my old boss had left, and I was too. I loved her. But I'm a positive person. So I was like, this is going to be great. Like, new energy. Woo. And I went in and I sat down with him. And one of the first things he said to me was, I'm really surprised how much we pay you given how little experience you have. And I was just like, whoosh. Like, okay. And I, at the time I don't even remember what I said, but I just think I was like, oh okay. I wish I'd had a really smart retort, but I didn't. But that was actually the catalyst. And so for me, and not necessarily that day, but over the next few months, I kept hearing that ringing in my ears. Mm-hmm. And I just kept thinking, this is not for me. I can do so much better. And so I spent the next 9 months before I went on maternity leave really starting to think about what I cared about and what I wanted. And then when I came back, I came back thinking I'll stay for 6 or 9 months. I'll use that time to sort of build up whatever the next thing is going to be, which I hadn't completely figured it out at that point. But then I got that news about, my role changing, and it was so crystal clear to me. And it's funny because when I got the news, he told it to me. I went downstairs and I was actually talking to a woman who is a mentor of mine in the company, and I told her all about it, and I was very upset. I literally had been back for like 2 or 3 weeks. Yeah. And she told me, she said, I think you need to take a leap of faith. And it's funny, at the time she was talking about in the role, because even though she knew it wasn't the right role for me, she was thinking that maybe if I gave it a shot, maybe we could improve it, kind of work together, try to figure it out. Right. But that started ringing in my ears. Take a leap of faith. And I finally went back to her a few days later and I said, I am going to take a leap of faith, but I'm going to take it in myself and I'm going to just go for it. And I got goosebumps. I didn't know what I was going to do, but I felt like that. I said to my husband, if there's going to be any moment, this is it. So yeah, I did it.
That's so cool. You and I are so much alike in that, the confidence thing that you talked about right away, how you just kind of, you're like, oh, it's not that you're not afraid of it, but then in the end you're just like, I'm just going to do it. Like, what do I have to lose? I'm just going to do it and see what happens. Yeah. And that's exactly the way that I am too, and everything that you're describing. So we have a lot in common that way. So that's awesome. So what advice would you give people about overcoming their fear or moving through them? Like how we talk about how easy it is. Like, what advice would you give?
That's a great question. So I think I would probably say, and it took me a year in business to learn this advice. I learned it the hard way, as I think we all
giving you her secrets right now. Listen up.
Big secret. Yeah. It's to take one action step every day. So I have this quote, and I don't know who said it. I saw it somewhere. Okay. And it's printed out and it's hanging above my desk, and it says, imperfect action is always better than perfect inaction. And
I just posted about that today.
Yes. Oh my God. I love it. So I saw that right around the 1 year mark when we were struggling a little bit. The company was struggling a little bit, and I had been very deep in the weeds and was really struggling to figure out how to move forward. And I saw that and I was like, this is what I need to remember. And so I've got it in front of me. And I think when you do have fear or even just overwhelm or,
Right. Anxiety.
tired, exactly. Whatever it is that's holding you back, it doesn't just have to be fear. I think if you just remember one small step, like what can I do tomorrow that will move me one step forward? And if you just start to do that, it gets a little bit easier to break free.
Yeah, 100%. That's exactly, my business partner and I have created a community, a virtual workspace for women specifically to stay accountable for what they need to get done today, because we get so caught up in the everyday mundane tasks that people are so easily distracted for what their bigger goals are. And then those little tasks that, lead up to those big goals that we have for our companies. And, we get distracted, and that's how we get in the negative mindset a lot, and stuck down in those weeds with anxiety and fear. So I love that advice, taking one step at a time. That's literally like my big secrets that I tell people too. I'm like, I do it day by day. Like I take things as it comes. You have a plan, but you take things as they come and you learn whether it's good or bad. We just continue to grow from it. Right.
Yes. I love that.
Yeah. So that's awesome. So, okay. So you obviously know how to move through your fears more and struggles, whatever that looks like for you. So I love asking people to dream big. Like we've talked about, dreaming big is good. So where do you see yourself 5 years from today?
Ooh, I love this. I'll be turning 40, not from today, but,
I was like, wow, happy birthday.
It'll be a big milestone.
Yes.
But no, it's funny. I've done a lot of work with dreaming recently, because I get asked to speak a lot. And one of the activities I've started doing is actually asking people to write down their big dreams. And it's funny because I think we as women really struggle with that. I literally can look at the room and the men are like, and the women are sitting there like, I don't know.
Yeah.
So I've tried to kind of do that own work with myself. And so for me, my big why for why I do everything I do is to really support and empower women and help move them forward in this world. And so when I think about 5 years from now, where I want to be, I want to have built a massive company company is actually the wrong word, platform that really helps women amplify their voices and believe in themselves and, have that courage to go for their big dreams. So I think that's very much a big piece of it. But yeah, I'll probably be in politics if I'm going to be honest with you.
Oh, wow.
I may run for something.
That's awesome.
That's probably part of my 5 or 10 year plan. But,
okay.
But yeah, it's just continuing to use my voice to speak on behalf of those who can't, and then helping those who can really amplify those voices. So
I love that so much. So excited. I love when people can say these things out loud. Most of the time people are kind of like, I want to do the same thing, but they don't actually like say the intention of the scary part, which is that you just said that out loud and it's recorded. So like people are going to hear it, which I absolutely love that you're braving the step just to even say the words from your mouth.
It is scary. It is scary. In fact, you guys are the first people I've told that I may run for office. So
yeah, you heard it here first. Woo! I love that. Yay, that's awesome. Well, I think it's so cool because like you said, having people that you can share those things with it's important that you do have your community and your friends. Like you said, if you didn't have those people to bounce ideas off or show you support, I've interviewed with people that had the complete opposite. They had friends that nobody understood it. Nobody understood any of it. And they were like in the dark with all of it, figuring it out blindly by themselves without support. So I love that you are grateful and understand that part.
Yes.
Can just see all of that. That's amazing.
Well, and I try to provide that community to other people.
Yeah,
too,
exactly.
I'm so grateful for that. So I think for those of us who are in my position, I think that's something that we, can give back with. So.
Yeah. And that's huge. And speaking of giving back, doesn't your company do a portion of give back?
We do. So 5% of all of our profits go back to women's nonprofit organizations. And
Love
we
that.
are, yeah, and we're actually constantly working on that model. I can't share anything yet, but I would just say stay tuned, because we are working on a way to have that be even more impactful and really help support women and women in business. So I'm excited about
Ooh, more sneak peeks, guys. That's exciting.
that.
I love it. Okay, well, Meg, where is the best place for everyone to connect with you?
Yeah. Oh my goodness. So many places. So oneforwomen.com is the online shop, marketplace, and the podcast you can find there as well as the blog. And then megkwheeler.com is actually where I run my other business, which is the finance coaching and on-demand CFO side of things.
Cool.
And then I'm Instagram, we're One for Women, and we're Meg K. Wheeler.
Okay, awesome. Well, thank you so much for your time. This was amazing. I would love if you want to share one last tip or a takeaway from the conversation and talking about fear and struggles. This is your chance. Go ahead and say one last thing that you'd like to give the viewers.
Oh, I love it. Okay. Well, I'm going to circle it back to everything that I'm all about, which is that idea of small gestures having a big impact. So whether it's yourself and just taking that one small step to break through fear, or whether it's supporting each other in really small but actionable ways to help them get through their fears, I think that's really powerful. And we, especially as women, need to make use of that power more often. So that's it.
Yeah, I love that. And the use of that power. I love your positioning of the words that you use with your company too. I think you even mentioned that, having the posture to like say these things. I love your verbiage around that. That is really impactful, which is what your message is all about, taking the small things and making a bigger impact in the world and being able to give back. So I love you so much. I'm so excited that we got connected. And I cannot wait to see the rollouts that you have coming with everything that you're doing, and continue to support you. So anyone that's watching that's resonated with anything that Meg has been mentioning, please reach out, comment on this video, message us, get connected to Meg however you can. Obviously, she's mentioned those outlets. So I want to just say thank you for joining us, and remember to love yourself and live fearlessly. Thank you, Meg.
Thanks.